There we are. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Hatha Yoga. Please grab a couple of yoga blocks or pillows that you can use like blocks at their lowest height like this. And we're going to begin in a shoulder opening version of child's pose. So as you come down to your knees, bring your feet together so that they touch. Your knees can either be together or apart. I like it apart so that my torso has a little more space to land in between. And then place your props just in front of you. If blocks, lowest height like this, just go ahead and cross your mat. And then you'll want to extend your arms forward. Consciously rotate your triceps or outer upper arms downward to really feel the upper arm bones rotate in the shoulder sockets as you do that. So the shoulder blades broaden, the chest broadens, and you're able to lengthen your neck. And then bending your elbows, set them on top of the blocks, so that your elbows are exactly your shoulders distance apart, not any wider than that. And then you might have to adjust where the blocks are and move them a little further away from you so that you're able to bring your fingertips together to touch. And then let your head drop towards the ground as your thumbs trace down the back of your skull, down the back of your neck, to whatever degree is possible right now. And just letting your shoulder blades continue to soften down your back ribs as you broaden your chest, as well as across your upper back. Now do let your chest sink towards the ground. It's like the feeling of the heart melting towards the earth. But can you activate your abdomen just a bit so it's not completely just loose and falling downward, but it's lifting slightly to support your spine to lengthen. Feel your pelvis. Can you draw your two sitting bones back and down towards your heels? Allow the sides of your torso to lengthen from your outer armpits down to your outer hips. We're going to be here for just another minute or so. Allowing your breath to deepen, inhaling through your nose and exhaling through your mouth a few times. So we have been going week by week through the different components within the first limb of yoga, and now we're on the second limb of yoga. And that limb is the niyamas, or the personal practices that we do to connect the core being. And there are 5 niyamas. Svadhyaya. Here's a little bit from our Root to Rise Yoga blog on the 8 limbs of yoga. So Svadhyaya is often translated as the study of the self, or self-study. And this involves observing your habits of thinking, of doing, of being. Deconstruct the barriers that you might create to aligning with your highest consciousness. It also includes studying wisdom texts, teachings such as the Yoga Sutras or the Bhagavad Gita or mindfulness philosophies, and learning from enlightened teachers, as well as practicing mindfulness in your everyday life to expand your perspective of life beyond the self. In yoga philosophy, there is a distinction between the self, spelled with all lowercase, which is the ego self, the I-ness, the sense of individuality, in contrast with self, spelled with a capital S, which indicates universal consciousness, the greater whole that we are all a part of, that knows no separation between all beings. And through cultural conditioning, inherited traits from our ancestors, and the personal habits we've developed in our lifetime, the ego self is mostly concerned with its own survival and is often driven by fear. Fueled with satya, truthfulness from the yamas, or ahimsa, non-harm from the yamas, and tapas, discipline, the last niyama we practice. Svadhyaya is learning to let go of such conditioned behaviors or beliefs, to transcend the ego and discover the bliss state of unity consciousness. It's peeling the layers that we may have created to shield ourselves in times that we may have needed to expose that light within that we honor as we say namaste to each other. So, your task is not to seek for love, but merely to seek and find all the barriers within yourself that you have built against it. And that's according to the Persian Sufi poet Rumi. Here's another quote, and it's from the Bhagavad Gita, which is an ancient Hindu text which yoga philosophy sources some of its information from. Yoga is the journey of the self, through the self, and to the self with a capital S. So what is developing self-awareness, greater self-awareness look like for you today in this practice? Bridging your mind, your inner being with your outer being as you deepen your breath. Please start to place your hands alongside your knees. Drop your chin towards your chest. And on your next inhalation, slowly roll your spine upright. Setting your two blocks aside, or even sitting on top of one of them if you like. Let's come up to a comfortable seat, and we're going to begin a breath practice called Bhastrika Pranayama, bellows breath. And it's where you continue to just breathe through your nose, deep inhalations where you expand your belly and lungs, and equal length exhalations through the nose where you hollow the belly, and it's like you're using your lungs like a bellow, like an accordion. And then with the arms, we begin with the elbows bent, hands like fists, like this. And as you inhale, you raise your arms straight up, spread the fingers wide. And as you exhale, you rebend your elbows and refist your hands, sort of like this. So sort of quickly. So sit up tall, relax your shoulders. You may like to close your eyes, steadying your gaze inward. And I'm going to set the timer for 1 minute of bellows breath. Ready? Begin. And relax. Let your hands rest on your heart center, on your navel. Breathing through your nose. Let's sustain the breath now equally in and out. Beginning Ujjayi Pranayama, or victorious breathing. So all the while softly narrowing the back of your throat to hear a subtle, a gentle whispering sound. Feel your in-breath fill up your belly and your lungs. Your entire torso lengthens and expands. Feel your out-breath raise past the back of your throat, out your nostrils, gently hollowing your belly. Now, if you're sitting cross-legged, take a look at your legs and let's switch the cross of the shin that's forward or on top. Firming down your palms onto your thighs, root to your sitting bones, lift through the crown of your head, and soften your shoulders slightly behind your ears and down, beginning to inhale. Circle your spine to one side and forward. Exhale to the other side and back. Inhale, half of the circle. Exhale, completing it. Try that a few times and then switch directions when you feel ready. Notice here, is anything starting to feel looser or feeling rigid? Can you explore the areas of your body that might feel loose already and perhaps play with firming those areas? Maybe it's the abdomen. Can you explore the areas that might feel rigid or stiff? And can you bring a sense of fluidity? Allow the bones to become a little heavier, loosening at the joints, like at your neck or along your jaw or your shoulders. Switching directions again, allowing the movement to become more organic. Perhaps you add some rolling of the wrists, some dropping of the skull. Just gentle and moving to a slow pace of breath. Where is your body asking for movement and release of stagnation? Where is your body asking for a little more support, stability, and engagement? Last few cycles of breath. Just now moving in your own way. Remembering that that's always an option as you move throughout this practice. Having the freedom to alter movements and poses as you tune into what's present for you each moment. And let's start to transfer onto our hands and knees, all fours, continuing the movement in cat-cow Betalasana. Using the inhale to glide your chest forward, shoulders back as you look up. And using your exhale to hollow your belly, dropping your skull to round your back. Few more cycles of. And then even here, as you're on your hands and knees, is your body looking for a different direction? Maybe a lateral movement, a side to side. Maybe a swaying of the skull, loosening any tension along the neck. Maybe even rolling back into child's pose and circling the pelvis sideways. All the while listening to a balanced rhythm in your breath. And let's start to make our way into downward facing dog, spreading your fingers flat, paralleling your index fingers to each other, facing the front of your mat, and then tucking your toes with your feet hips width apart, lifting your hips high. Welcome your body when you arrive in downward dog with a few breaths of movement. Again, organic, perhaps pedaling your feet in place, maybe softly shaking or nodding your head. Now let's bend the knees a lot in downward dog. Dropping your skull, press the ground away with your hands as if you're trying to push the mat forward and down. And then find a contrast of lifting your hips higher and back. Let your belly firm in as you roll your triceps downward, lengthening your neck as you steady your gaze on the floor towards your feet. Breath by breath, allowing your heels to sink deeper towards the ground, even if not visibly deeper. Can you feel the strength of your quadriceps as they contract and slightly lift your kneecaps? Let's take another 3 breaths here, still in Adho Mukha Svanasana. Now think of cat pose. We're going to come into a huge Halloween cat position. Contract the belly and inhale, tuck your chin to your chest and round forward into plank pose. When you arrive, stack your shoulders over your wrists and steady your gaze a foot ahead of your hands on the ground. You have the option of lowering your knees on the floor too, or keeping your legs straight. Can you feel a lift of your navel towards your spine? Your chest drawing forward. Your tailbone lengthening towards your inner heels. Now let's take a few breaths if you can, very slowly. Progressing through Chaturanga Dandasana to lower, glide forward. Hug your elbows bent towards your side ribs, pointing them back. Passing halfway down, belly lifted, and then coming all down. To your right, lower the floor and slide your right open to the right side with your palm face down. Let's further open the front of your shoulders. With your left hand pressing the floor away, gently roll over onto your right hip. Soften your right shoulder blade further down your back. And then just play with this for another 5 to 10 breaths of how much weight you want to lean back to help open the front of your right shoulder. You may even like to bend your left knee and step your left foot on the ground behind you. Maybe even wrap the left arm behind you, just experimenting. Seeing with each subtle variation how your body is responding and really guiding you to what it needs. Can you trace your awareness from the start of your in-breath to the very top of it, and then from the start of your out-breath to the very bottom of it? And on your next exhalation, start to unravel onto your belly again, lying face down. Just carefully transitioning to the second side, leaning your left ear to the floor. Left arm straight open to the left so the palm is face down. And with your right hand pressing the ground away as you gently roll onto your left hip. Really paying attention to the subtle ways your body, something different is going on in the shoulder. How do you respond to that? So part of the self-study in the physical sense is like really paying attention to the signals our bodies are giving us throughout the day. Can you feel the movement of your breath inside? And notice just how long the in-breath lasts compared to the out-breath. And on your next exhalation, let's come into Sphinx pose, lowering your belly to the floor with both legs straight back and sliding your forearms forward to lift your chest off the ground. See that your elbows are about an inch in front of your shoulders and your palms are face down. Then as you separate your ankles, hips width apart, point your toes, firm down through every toenail, the tops of your feet, so much that your knees are actually not touching the floor, but your pelvis is. Then without actually moving your hands, can you bring the energy into your shoulders as if you're dragging your forearms back towards your outer hips to broaden your chest, extending your sternum forward as you take another 3 breaths. Melt your shoulder blades down your back and feel length in the back of your neck. Continuing to stretch your legs long and ground through the tops of your feet. Let's slide the palms back alongside your floating ribs, hugging your elbows close to your sides for either Bhujangasana, Cobra Pose, or Urdhva Mukha Svanasana, Upward Dog. For Cobra, keep on the floor, peel your chest forward. Stay about 3 to 5 breaths. For upward dog, press down with your palms, lifting your pelvis off the floor. And as you draw your shoulder bones back to stack over your wrists, broaden your chest forward past your wrists. We'll land back in child's pose, feet together, knees together apart, with arms extended forward. 3 breaths. Reaching your fingertips ahead, drawing your shoulders and hips back. Take another in-breath and separate your feet hips width apart. Tucking your toes, exhale, lift your hips into downward facing dog. Walk your hands back to meet your feet in a forward fold at the rear of your mat. With feet parallel, press the ground ahead or your shins, and inhale, draw your chest through your arms, lengthening halfway up. Exhale, hinge as you shift a little more weight forward, engaging the front of your thighs, your belly. Root down through your feet. Inhale, sweep your arms with a feeling of a flat back. Rise to stand. See your palms touch overhead. Exhale, trace your thumbs down your center line. Arms by your sides, mountain pose. Inhale, sweep your arms overhead. Exhale, hinge forward. Pressing with your fingertips. Inhale, lengthen your chest through your arms. Get ahead. Exhale, fold again. With strong legs, inhale, rise, expand, lift. Exhale, recenter down your midline. Tadasana. One more, Ardha Surya Namaskar. Inhale, sweep your arms. Exhale, bow forward. Inhale, lengthen halfway up. Exhale, fold again. Rooting down, inhale, rise tall, looking up. Exhale, back to Tadasana. Let's walk forward to the top of your mat in mountain pose, feet together or apart. Inhale, sweep your arms high, now coming into a full sun salutation A. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, lengthen halfway. Carefully step back into your version of plank. Continuing the exhale as you glide forward, lower through Chaturanga Dandasana. And choose either Cobra or Upward Dog as you breathe in, legs strong. Hollow your belly to lift your hips as you exhale to Downward Facing Dog. Pausing here for 3 deep breaths. Bending your knees, look ahead of your hands. On empty breath, walk or float to the top of your mat. Inhale, lengthen halfway up. Exhale, bow forward. Rooting down, inhale, rise tall, looking up. Exhale, back to mountain pose. We're going to slow it down as we set the route for a vinyasa or breath-led movement. This time bringing the feet together to touch, so big toes are touching. Prepare to sit in chair pose with your knees together. Inhale, sink your weight towards your heels. Maybe raise the floor with your fingertips, keeping your hips that low as you sit for a few breaths. Now, can you see your toes? You'll want to have your shin bones glide back enough where you can. And then can you sink your tailbone a little lower, but hug in your front ribs while softening your shoulders and lifting your heart, maybe your gaze. Utkatasana. Take another breath in. And then exhale, forward fold. Inhale, draw your heart forward, Ardha Uttanasana. Step or float into Chaturanga. Take it all the way through a vinyasa. Into Cobra or Upward Facing Dog. Let's meet in Downward Facing Dog. From there, lift from the inseam of your leg. Inhale, raise your right leg back. Contract your belly and exhale, bend your right knee towards your nose to softly land your foot inside of your right hand. Separate your feet hips width on the ball of your back foot, preparing for crescent lunge. Firming down through your feet, inhale, rise up to stand, arms overhead. So this posture can be practiced with a back knee on the ground if you need more support. You could also bend your back knee to help the bowl shape of your pelvis orient upright and your two hips square forward. So let your tailbone lengthen down, your frontal hip bones slightly lift, and then feel the length from your side waist up your fingertips. Let's take another in breath. Now keeping your hips facing forward, your legs firmly grounded, begin to turn your chest to face your right wall, opening your arms wide like a T in an upright spinal twist. You might even look back at your right thumb, shoulder blades softening down your back, crown of the head lifting. If you start to lean your torso more towards the front wall, you could bend your back knee and re-stack each vertebra from the bottom up more vertically. Let's take a full cycle of breath. Now on your next inhale, reach your arms up back through crescent pose. Spin your back heel to the floor and slide your right foot a few inches to the left for warrior two. Join your palms in prayer at your chest, chest facing left wall, and then open your arms wide to arrive. So here you want to line your right heel to intersect the arch of your left foot. Wrap your right glute and outer hip underneath you, and bend your front knee to stack right over the heel facing forward. Feel a slight inward rotation of your left thigh, so your back toes are slightly facing your front wall. As you firm the top of your left thigh bone behind you towards your right wall. Gazing past your right hand, let's take another full cycle of breath. Keep your front knee bent, facing forward, flip your right palm to face up, and then sweep your right arm overhead as you lean back towards your rear wall in peaceful warrior. Left hand is lightly landing on your left leg, or you can wrap it behind you, perhaps catch hold of the top of your right thigh. On your next in-breath, cartwheel your hands to the floor, entering plank pose. And as you exhale, lower through a vinyasa, or take a round of cat-cow pose. Let's meet in downward dog. As you arrive, reground through your fingers spread. Then inhale, raise your left leg back from the inseam of your leg. As you exhale, bend your left knee towards your nose, round to plank, and set your left foot just inside of your left hand in a high lunge. You're on the ball of your right foot, your feet are hips distance apart. And firm down through your feet and inhale, slowly rise, crescent pose. So again, the variations of this posture could be back knee to the floor, back knee bent to help align the pelvic bowl more upright, the hips facing forward, or the back leg completely straight if you can keep that alignment of your pelvis. Check in with your breathing here. Now as your legs stay just as they are, rotate your chest to face your left wall and open your arms wide so your left arm backstrokes and your right hand reaches forward, but your spine stays vertical. Your shoulders resting down away from your neck. In this upright twist, let's take another cycle of breath. On your next inhale, raise both arms, face forward again, crescent pose. Join your palms in prayer, then spin your back heel to the floor, align left heel to arch of right foot, and with chest facing right wall, open your arms into Virabhadrasana 2. Gazing just past your left hand. Wrap your left outer hip underneath your body, bending your front knee just over the heel. Feel the slight internal rotation of your right leg, top of your right thigh bone back behind you. As your legs remain in warrior two, keep bending your front knee forward. Flip your left palm to face up. Lift your spine, then sideways bend towards the rear wall of your room. Peaceful warrior. Right hand lightly on your right leg, or wrap your right arm behind you. Maybe catch hold of the top of your left thigh. Next, inhale, cartwheel your hands to plank pose. Exhale down to chaturanga or take a round of cat-cow. At any time, you can always rest. We'll meet in downward dog. Allowing a few breaths to rebalance and set the pace as we complete this round and enter the next round in a continuous breath-led movement. Bringing that self-study into the breath rhythm, into the body patterns, and just noticing what comes up as you're going through the flow. Bend your knees, look ahead of your hands. On emptied breath, walk or float to the top. With feet touching, inhale, lengthen halfway up. Exhale, forward fold. With knees touching, inhale, sit low in chair pose. Exhale, rise up to stand, and that culminates the first round. Second round, inhale, back to chair. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, lengthen halfway. Exhale, step or float into chaturanga or take your version of your vinyasa all the way through. Arriving in downward dog, inhale, raise your right leg. Exhale, set the foot forward inside of right hand. High lunge. Inhale, rise to crescent lunge. To your right, exhale, open arm, upright twist. Face forward, inhale, arms up in crescent again. Turn left, exhale, heel to arch in warrior two. Flip the right palm up, inhale, sweep it back, peaceful warrior. Exhale, hands to the floor and plank, continue down into your choice of a vinyasa, or none. When you arrive in downward, inhale, raise your left leg. Exhale, lightly step the foot forward to a high lunge. Inhale, rise to crescent lunge. To your left, exhale, open your arms, upright twist. Back to center, inhale, crescent lunge. To your right, exhale, warrior two, align heel to arch. Flip your left palm, inhale, sweep back, peaceful warrior. Exhale, hands to the floor, choose your vinyasa or none. Three to five breaths. Downward facing dog. Bending your knees, look ahead of your hands, end of your breath, walk or float. Breathe in to lengthen halfway up. Breathe out to fold. Bending your knees, inhale to chair pose. Now let's extend the arms forward with the palms face up and begin to glide your back down an imaginary wall that's behind you. Slowly lowering to sit, then lifting your feet into Navasana or boats. Know that you can catch hold of the backs of your thighs or hands on the floor for more support, or keep your arms forward, perhaps even straighten the legs. Can you imagine lifting your pelvic floor And then lifting through each vertebra from the bottom up. Shoulders relaxed, heart broad and lifted. Last 3 breaths. Inhale. Exhale, 3. Inhale. Exhale, 2. Deep breath in. Exhale. Lower your feet for a moment. And please find your 2 blocks so that you have each at their lowest height, framing your outer hips. Then place your palms on the blocks. Cross your right ankle over the left and hook your toes or hook your feet. And then we're going to press down with the palms. And as you exhale, really picture lifting your pelvic floor and see if maybe your pelvis will lift as well. Maybe you catch some air time, maybe you don't. But let's just experiment. Take a deep breath. Exhale, lift. Coming down, switch the cross of your ankles, flex your feet. Again, take a deep breath. Root down to rise. Maybe straighten the legs as you hover. And let's come back down to sit. All right, one more version of boat pose. Boat into half boat. 5 rounds. So tilting back, lift your feet, arms where you like. Inhale, in boats. Exhale, lower halfway down to half boat. Legs straighten. Inhale, in half boat. Exhale, rise to full boat. Now in Sanskrit, inhale, Navasana. Exhale, Ardha Navasana. Inhale, Navasana. Or Ardha Navasana. Exhale, Navasana. Inhale here. Exhale, lower. Inhale, stay. Exhale, rise. 2 more rounds. Inhale. Exhale, lower. Inhale. Exhale. Try not to use so much of the hip flexors. Focus on the lower belly. Last one. Inhale. Exhale, lower. From the lower belly, inhale. Exhale, lift. Grab your blocks alongside your hips. Cross right ankle over left. Take a deep breath in. Exhale, root down to rise. Maybe straighten the legs. And then come on down to sit. Last time, cross left ankle over right. Deep breath in. Exhale, root down to rise. Maybe straighten the legs, and then come on down to sit. So we're gonna take a little version of tabletop pose that's inverted. Setting your feet on the ground with knees bent, separate your ankles hips width apart, parallel your feet. And then placing your wrists behind your pelvis, turn your fingertips back to face away from your body. So basically it's hands and knees, but the belly is facing the sky. You'll want to make sure that your knees land directly above your ankles and your shoulders land directly above your wrists. You're contracting the hamstrings, lifting the pelvis, and elongating the fronts of your thighs forward, keeping them parallel. For about 5 breaths, see what you can take here. So when you're ready, press down to lift up. As you feel the broadening of your chest, draw your shoulder blades down your back. You can tilt your chin slightly back, opening your throat. Counting your own, about 5 breaths before you lower gently to sit again. Can you feel your pelvis lifting? Can you feel the fronts of your thighs lengthening forward? Legs parallel. And then when you're ready, coming down, loosely interlace your fingers and just circle your hands at your wrists. Slow breath in, easy breath out. 2 more breaths. So last round of inverted tabletop with an optional transition into inverted plank or Parsvottanasana. So the inverted plank is with the legs straight, soles of the feet flat on the ground. It will require a little bit more engagement of your hamstrings to lift up. So you can start that way or start with your knees bent and then maybe walk your feet forward to straighten your legs. Let's have the fingertips pointing at your glutes this time. So when you're ready, lifting up, feel the engagement of the muscles in the backs of your thighs. Roll the fronts of your shoulders behind you and press your shoulder blades down your back. Counting on your own about 5 breaths before you lower. Think of avoiding turning out your legs by spiraling your inner thighs downward, though your feet remain parallel. And then when you decide to come down, let's cross the legs or slide your legs to one side to come forward onto a regular tabletop pose, in which we'll stretch your wrists. So making fists out of your hands, gently lean your fists against each other. Very licky dog. And then let the backs of your fists rest onto the floor. As you splay your elbows apart, thank you very much. You can gently lean forward and adjust the amount of intensity in this outer wrist, outer forearm stretch. Notice how your neck and jaw feel right now. Do they need a little release, like fluttering the lips or softly turning your head? And then when you're done, you might have to shake out your hands or shake out your arms, sitting back on your shins again, before entering downward facing dog. Downward facing dog. Couple of breaths here. Again, lifting from the inseam of your leg. Inhale, raise your right leg behind you. Exhale, round forward, lightly step the foot inside of right hand. Stay high on the ball of your back foot, come onto your fingertips. Now you may want to have blocks under your hands here. Keeping your left hand on the ground or block. Use your right thumb to hook the outer crease of your right hip down. Firm back through your inner left heel and lengthen the top of your head towards your front wall. Really find length throughout your spine. Now keeping your hips level, turn your chest to face your right wall and raise your right arm towards the sky, revolved side angle pose modification. Now you could stay here. If you want some more leverage, you could take your left elbow, hook it outside of your right thigh, perhaps join the palms in prayer, or open your arms wide. There is an optional bind here if you're feeling pretty twisty today. To get into that bind, you press your left forearm down towards underneath your right thigh on the outside. And then with your left arm wrapping behind you, you could see if they're reachable. Today mine's not. So if yours is, maybe your fingers clasp. Let's take a few more breaths. Feel the leveling of your hips. Elongate your spine. And rotate your ribcage. Shoulders relaxing down. Now take a look at your right foot. Set your two hands to frame it once again and spin your back heel down, coming into Warrior One. Keep your front knee bent, your two hips facing forward, and slowly rise with arms overhead. Virabhadrasana 1. From here, reach your arms behind you and further open your chest by either holding a strap between your hands or clasping your fingers. Roll the front of your shoulders back and down. Hug your lower belly inward. And as you breathe in, tilt your heart up. You could stay here. Or as you breathe out, begin to bow forward into devotional or humble warrior. Now, if you're bowing, feel the counterweight of your left heel. Continue to square your hips forward, drawing your right hip back. Let your skull just be heavy so your neck is loose. Create space in it by lifting your shoulder bones away from it while stretching your arms forward. Root down through your feet. Inhale, slowly rise up. Come back to Warrior One. Cactus bend your elbows apart. Then cross your right elbow over the left. Now you could give yourself a tight hug, hook your thumbs, or wrap your forearms and palms for eagle arms. Softening your shoulders down. Align your elbows to the height of your shoulders. while gently pressing your forearms forward away from your face. Steady your gaze, hear your breath steady, and begin to shift your weight entirely onto your right foot to enter eagle or legs in chair pose. To enter eagle, wrap your left leg around the right, bend the knees even more, and if possible, tuck your left toes behind your right calf. You may need to scissor your left hip a little more back so that, again, your hips are square. Once you're in your version of Garudasana, eagle pose, steady your attention on what's happening inside. Some of you might choose to play with bowing forward, hinging from your hips while in this wrap. There's a quite deep compression, restricting blood flow to major joints in your body so that when you release from the pose, that blood recirculates through those joints. And then spine upright, unravel your arms, and just come to stand in mountain pose. Arms down your sides, palms facing forward. Spread your toes. Spread your weight through the four corners of each foot. And imagine breathing from the ground up. Inhaling from the soles of your feet, acknowledging up to your legs, slowly through your pelvis, your torso, your heart, up to your crown, up to your arms. Then exhale all the way back down. One more breath like that. From the soles to the crown. Exhaling from the crown to the soles and fingertips. Back into the earth. Inhale your arms overhead. Exhale, forward fold. Stepping back, downward facing dog. Inhale, raise your left leg behind you. Exhale, round forward to a high lunge. Stay on the ball of your right foot. Come onto your fingertips. Feel free to use blocks. Firming your inner right heel back, lengthen the top of your head forward. Using your left thumb, hook the crease of your left outer hip back and down, and feel your hips leveled. Take a deep breath, shoulder blades down your back. As you exhale, rotate your chest to face your left wall. Perhaps enter the twist with left arm up, or hook your right elbow outside of your left thigh, whether hands are in prayer or arms are wide apart. Those of you considering entering a bind, you could use your left hand to press your right forearm down outside of your left thigh and underneath. Left arm wraps behind you. Hands might clasp. Let's take 3 more breaths. Gaze down at your left foot. Lower your hand again to frame it. And spin your right heel down. Keep your hips facing forward. Warrior 1. Rising up, arms overhead. Backstroking your arms to open your chest. Either grab a strap to hold between your hands or switch the interlacing of your thumb and index. Inhale, coil your chest up. Draw your lower belly inward. Stay here or exhale, fold forward slowly into humble or devotional warrior. Keeping your 2 hips evenly facing forward. Drop your skull. Let your arms stretch towards the front of your room as you lift your shoulder bones away from your neck. One more deep breath. whatever variation you're in. And then rooting down through your two soles. Inhale to rise up, still in warrior one. This time bend your elbows apart like the shape of a cactus. And cross your left elbow over the right, either hugging yourself tightly, hooking your thumbs, or wrapping your forearms in palm. Let your shoulder blades soften downward as your elbows rise to the height of your shoulders. Forearms pressing away from your face. Decide into wrapping your right leg over the left or stepping together in chair. Shift weight onto your left foot. Turn out your right leg, flexing the foot. Cross the right leg over the left and sit a little lower. You might be able to tuck your right toes behind your left calf. Scissoring right hip slightly back. You might opt to hinge from your hips in your eagle pose. Studying what arises as we shift positions, or as one side may be different from the other. What arises in the body, in the thoughts, what shows up in our patterns. Inhale, lifting up. Open your wings, open your arms, and step it down. But this time, let's land facing the wide edge of your mat, stepping your feet very wide apart. Bring to your hips, parallel your feet, your chest, and look up. Then exhale, hinge forward, Prasarita Padottanasana. So lowering your hands on blocks or the floor. Some of you might be itching for a headstand right now, and feel free to walk your hands back, coming into tripod. Some of you might be needing a little more spinal twist. You can set one hand in front, raise the other arm to the sky, say 5 breaths each side. Or you might be itching for a little more forward fold, clasping your big toes with your peace fingers and pulling yourself in, bending your elbows apart. So whatever your upside down posture, can you honor length throughout your spine? Shoulders rising away from your neck. Can you feel your center, literally just below your belly button, alive, engaged, and supporting you? Can you witness your breath, free-flowing, balanced? And whatever your inversion, please make your way back to a half forward fold in this wide-legged stance. And just pausing there, perhaps on your fingertips, elongating your chest through your upper arms, and firming your belly up towards your back. Coming into Skandasana, turn out your legs. You can bring your hands a little closer to your feet. Rotate from your hips. Bend your left knee as I'm mirroring you here. And sink your pelvis as you curl up your right toes to flex. Right knee facing the sky. Skandasana. Some of you might want to cross your left arm in front of your left thigh, nudging it open. Perhaps raise the right arm to the sky, a little twist. Or even binding, wrapping the arms around your left leg to clasp behind you. Let's take one more deep breath. And keeping both legs turned out, let's pass through the center and then bend your right knee. Curl up your left toes to flex, left knee towards the sky. Skandasana. And you might Cross your right arm in front of your inner right thigh to nudge it open. You might raise your left arm and spiral your chest towards the sky. You might add a bind to further open the fronts of your shoulders. And once you've undone that, let's parallel the feet back to a wide-legged forward fold. Heel toe your feet just a little wider than hips width apart. And then bend your knees, drop your skull, let your torso and arms just hang freely. As you root down to your feet, begin to roll up on an inhale, very slowly stacking one vertebra at a time, lifting your head last. Shoulders, and with a big exhalation, rotate your shoulders back and down. Come on down to sit. Please grab a block skinny width. Hug it right in between your thighs, separating your feet as wide apart as your knees parallel. Extend your arms forward, palms face up, and then slowly lower onto your back. And when your head meets the ground, arms down by your sides, slide your feet towards your hands until you could almost touch your heels with your fingertips. Not quite, just almost. Keeping your feet parallel, evenly grounded, shoulders grounded. Tilt your chin back slightly away from your chest to prepare for one round of bridge pose. 5 to 10 deep breaths. So really use it to expand your chest, to expand your breath and lungs. Open up your front body. When you're ready, lifting your hips, reach your tailbone forward actively towards the block. Walk your upper arms closer together beneath your back ribs, perhaps interlacing your fingers. Keep your throat open, your hamstrings engaged. Counting 5 to 10 deep breaths. And when you've lowered, remove the block between your thighs at your own time when you're ready to. And just gently windshield wiper your thighs side to side while keeping your feet on the ground. So it's a very relaxed falling of the legs side to side, giving your sacrum a massage. You might like to take some deep exhales through your mouth, perhaps lion's breath, where you open your mouth and eyes wide and stick your tongue out while crossing your eyes when you exhale. That's a releasing, cooling breath. And then draw your bent knees into your chest. Ground your pelvis, your tailbone. Ground your shoulders. But see if you can hug your thighs even closer. Drop your chin slightly towards your chest, as though you're ironing the back of your spine against the ground. Prepare for a spinal twist here. Now you keep your knees together, or if you want a little more sensation in that twist, you could cross your right leg over the left. Open your arms wide like a T, slide your hips a little closer to the right edge of your mat, and then drop your knees to the left in line with your hips. Turn your gaze to your right hand and keep your right shoulder on the ground. Here, bring your attention to your right outer hip. Can you allow it to tilt so slightly towards the front edge of your mat, tractioning your lower spine? Let's take one more deep breath. Exhaling, unwind to center. Uncross your legs. Draw your bent knees again towards your chest. Chin to chest, pelvis on the floor, shoulders grounded. Just one breath, lengthening your spine against the floor. Now keep your knees like this or cross the left leg over the right. Slide your pelvis a little closer to the left side of your mat and gently drop your knees to the right in line with your hips. Gazing past your left shoulder, ground it. Then bring your awareness to your left outer hip. Tilt it slightly towards the front edge of your mat, bringing space into your lower back. Let's take one more deep breath here. Unwind back to center. And take just one more minute if there's a posture like happy baby, shoulder stand or plow, or legs up, simply like I'm doing. Whatever you may need to help further cool down, really welcome stillness after. Begin to wind down with any last gentle movement, a transitional pose towards Shavasana. Grab whatever props you may need to rest your body comfortably in stillness for the next few minutes. Perhaps a pillow under the backs of your knees, or blanket over you, or covering for your eyes. And as you settle your body into that position you've chosen, close your eyes and take a mental scan from the soles of your feet to your crown, to your fingertips. And as you release control of your breathing, can you still be aware of it? In this stillness, having an even greater awareness of what comes up inside. Staying a little longer in Shavasana, I'd like to share about the chant that you're listening to. Shanti means peace, but the chant that's been repeating is Om Asatoma Sadgamaya, Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya, Mrityorma Amritam Gamaya. And this is an invocation to move from ignorance to knowledge, from darkness or the subconscious to light or the light of awareness, from death to immortality and embracing universal self, that capital S. If you'd like to join me for 5 minutes in meditation, please begin to move your body gently, slowly lifting it up to find a comfortable, upright seat. I'm going to set a timer for 5 minutes. ending our practice today, I wanted to share something that was said at our forgiveness workshop this past weekend. It was such a wise saying that knowledge is learning something new each day, but wisdom is shedding something old each day, deconstructing what might limit us. Let's close the practice, joining in one chant of Om. Take a deep breath. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Peace, peace.